Movie trailers are the bane of my existence. Okay, maybe that's a bit dramatic, but trailers that give away too much truly are one of my least favourite things, and I know I'm far from alone in this. A good trailer should whet your appetite, not hand you the entire meal. Yet, despite such frustration, trailers are of course one of the most important marketing tools in Hollywood, and marketing itself is even more important. Hence why studios often spend millions of dollars to promote a film. But with the rise of the internet, marketing has grown more and more innovative. One genre that has really benefited from this is horror, in which marketing often doesn't just advertise, but becomes an extension of the movie itself. Over the last couple of years, we've had quite a few interesting examples of this, two of which I think are pretty similar. Yet one seems to have succeeded where the other failed. Those marketing campaigns are those for 2025's Weapons and 2024's Longlegs. So, by first exploring the history of some horror marketing gimmicks, I want to have a look at why I think these two marketing campaigns produced different results. While both were very successful, one left fans far more satisfied than the other, which left many viewers disappointed. Horror has always been a fertile ground for innovative marketing. The Blair Witch Project really set the standard in 1999, blurring the line between reality and fiction with fake news reports, missing person flyers, and a website that convinced some audiences that what they were about to watch was a real documentary. The film's viral word of mouth wasn't just a happy accident. It was carefully engineered to leave audiences unsettled before they even sat down in the theatre, and boy did it work. Since then, horror has become rife with playful, sometimes sinister campaigns that reach far outside of the cinema. Much of this marketing has developed alongside our technology, allowing for more complex campaigns as the decades have progressed. In 2002, cursed VHS tapes were left in random places, often around where film festivals were being held, in order to promote the US remake of The Ring. Then, in 2008, Cloverfield launched one of the most secretive viral campaigns in movie history, scattering cryptic clues across MySpace and fake corporate websites months before anyone even knew the film's title. A very early, innovative use of social media to market a film. Come 2013, YouTube was the big thing, and with prank videos popular, marketers for the Carrie remake decided to stage an elaborate prank in a New York coffee shop, where hidden cameras captured shocked patrons as a woman held a man across the room with telekinetic rage. These early marketing stunts all attempted to achieve what Blair Witch had. They wanted to scare the public by making them think the horrors were real, at least for a moment. But these days, most people have wised up to the tricks of the internet. The 2020s have been dominated by serious discussions of the dangers of real-world conspiracies and less serious discussions of people falling for falsified AI images. Thanks to this, many people are far less likely to fall prey to a viral marketing campaign like they did with the Blair Witch Project back in 1999. But that hasn't stopped similar tricks being used today. However, they now strive to widen the world building of the film, not to convince us that the film is a reality. In 2016, A24's marketing campaign for The Witch combined social media engagement, co-branding with the Satanic Temple, and character-driven content like the viral Black Phillip Twitter account to generate buzz. Clearly, they did not expect anyone to truly believe that a goat was running his own Twitter account. Then, 6 years later, in 2022, the latest Scream film was promoted with a phone number where callers could receive a personalized message from Ghostface, though no one truly believed that he was real, as all were far too familiar with the character by this point. And Smile hired actors to creep out the public, sitting behind home plate at baseball games or appearing in the background of live morning shows, with unnerving grins on their faces and a t-shirt that read the film's title, allowing the game to be given away with a quick Google search. In 2024, A24 promoted Heretic by posting digital missing person style ads at Salt Lake City Airport, coinciding with the LDS General Conference. Thankfully, these posters did include the film title, so as not to stir up any real fear. And in 2025, Bring Her Back promoted itself through a website designed as a fake online shop, which featured products hinting at unsettling details within the story. Evidently, none of these stunts depended upon genuine belief, but they do intrigue us and also accurately set up our expectations for the contents of the films themselves. These days, when realism is strived for, the campaign tends to fail. For example, in 2024, The Strangers Chapter 1 used a TikTok livestream promoted as a real-time home invasion, but its polished production and long runtime drained the suspense, fooling absolutely no one, even though the platform did briefly ban the video for being too disturbing. With the rise of such incredible marketing campaigns, there has grown a brand new problem. What happens when the marketing is better than the film itself? This problem has been present right from the start. Something people still love to say is that the Blair Witch Project isn't that scary, that all its horror only comes from the fact that people believe the film to be a documentary. While I personally completely disagree, I can't force someone to think the film is scary. High expectations are hard to meet, and with a reputation like the Blair Witch Project has, people are inevitably going to be disappointed. It doesn't matter if I think the decision to never show the witch is horrifying, or if I tell them to just imagine experiencing the marketing back in 1999. If you're disappointed by the film, you're disappointed by the film. With this ever-present risk, why don't companies just let the films do the talking? While this might be my personal preference to enjoy a film, it's not really a great technique for a studio to employ. Sure, horror fans like myself might go and see anything so long as we know the genre, but most people want a little bit more to go off. Which, fair enough, cinema tickets are incredibly expensive. It's why reviews are so important too. Great marketing and positive reviews are the perfect recipe for box office success. This is also why we so often see trailers that give far too much away. Putting all your best moments in a trailer might ruin the experience of seeing them within the film itself. But showcasing the best bits is a sure way to get butts in seats. Then there's the problem of spoilers. Why do some trailers decide to spoil the big reveal or the plot twist? Well, for some films, deciding how to market them is hard. If there's a big shift early on, and it's only after this shift that the genre elements come in, it's hard to promote this film to the right audience without giving at least some of its story away. Recent examples of this are the films Abigail and Companion, which I'm going to have to spoil in the same way as the trailers and even the posters did. So if you are somehow that spoiler-free and are interested in watching either film, I implore you to skip ahead to the time currently displayed on screen. Okay, so Abigail begins as a heist film, more thriller than horror, until it is revealed that the little girl Abigail is a vampire. From here on out, the film is a full-blown vampire horror flick. Sadly, almost everyone going into watching this film knew that the little girl was a vampire from the get-go, as this had been plastered all over the marketing. This meant the big reveal was not a reveal for most, which is such a shame. But this film is very much made for horror fans, particularly those that like vampires. Had the film been marketed as a heist film, the wrong people would have seen the film, and it would have been panned and box office numbers would have flailed. A similar twist needed to be revealed in Companion, that being that Sophie Thatcher's character Iris was a robot, something made clear not just in the trailer, but on the poster itself. Films like these put the marketing team in a very tricky situation. Either falsely promote the film as something it's not to keep the twist intact, or reveal the twist and accurately promote the film. Now, I'm a big believer that a film should be rewatchable, so spoilers aren't the worst thing ever, but at the same time, I would like to be able to experience everything pretty blind for the first time. Incredibly, and on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, back in 2011, Paranormal Activity 3 released a trailer that contained footage never shown in the film. This meant nothing was spoiled, but the footage was in line with the film enough to work as accurate promotion. While this is a great idea, it's something that only a film like Paranormal Activity could employ, as we are all familiar enough with the conventions of found footage horror to know what to expect without needing to see any specifics to get the gist of the film. Other examples where a film has been marketed kind of falsely prove just how big of a negative impact this can have. 2020's Promising Young Woman was in many trailers marketed like a horror film, but in actuality is far more of a drama come thriller. This led to disappointment from those who felt they had been sold a false premise and were left underwhelmed. While I do personally like this film, I can totally see how such disappointment occurred. Evidently, marketing is a difficult line to toe. We want a trailer that doesn't give away much, but also accurately sets up our expectations. Even when a marketing campaign is perfectly executed, meaning it creates intrigue while giving nothing away, it can still be seen as a failure if audiences are left unsatisfied by the film that they eventually get to see. This is where Longlegs and Weapons come in. These films and their marketing campaigns have a lot in common, but the final audience responses have been largely different. Thanks to this, I think these campaigns are incredibly interesting case studies to explore. Longlegs was acquired by distributor Neon, a company that is becoming renowned for having interesting marketing campaigns. Not quite at the cult level following of A24, this independent distributor is fast catching up. Historically, fans haven't gone to see films simply based on who distributes them. But with A24 and Neon, this has started to change, and for good reason. Award-winning and interesting films are what make up both companies' catalogues. But as an independent company, Neon doesn't have the budget of, say, Warner Brothers to promote their films. So it's crucial that they get creative to get the word out there. From a short film contest to promote an aura, to offering therapy to those watching this year's together, their marketing campaigns have certainly been unique. But best of all was their marketing for last year's Longlegs. marketing that was so good that it led to the film becoming the highest grossing indie horror film of the last decade. Yet, with such success has come an onslaught of criticism. From the very beginning, Longlegs' marketing campaign was designed like a scavenger hunt, a series of breadcrumbs left for horror superfans to follow. Disturbing images and cryptic videos appeared online months before the title was even revealed. Then, the first teaser barely showed us anything. Mike and Monroe glimpsed from behind, Nicolas Cage obscured in shadows, no dialogue, and a cipher code that transformed into the title Longlegs. With so little to go off of, fans became like detectives themselves, participating in cracking the film's code. From a billboard with a phone number that led to Nicolas Cage whispering in character to Zodiac-inspired cipher ads placed in newspapers, the campaign didn't just promote the movie, it extended its world. By the time the film hit theaters, Longlegs wasn't just a release. It was already a cultural event worming its way into the public consciousness. People were terrified of Longlegs before even seeing the film.
Lock it up and let's roll sound. We will tailslate this, thank you. Action.
But in all of this clever marketing, there was one flaw. The campaign entirely set the film up as true crime-esque. So when it was revealed in the film that the actual cause of the horrors is entirely satanic, many were disappointed. Now, personally, as a horror fan, I really didn't mind this reveal. In fact, I think the satanic element makes the film even more bleak. But the exposition dump used to deliver this information is admittedly a little bit weak. Some also criticised the film for showing us Nicolas Cage's Longlegs far too early, not teasing us in quite the same way as the marketing did. Now, as I love his performance, I also don't agree here. I think he's just as scary on screen as he is hidden. But still, when all of this came together, it left many rather dissatisfied, and opinion on the film has been pretty split. Some, like myself, quite enjoy the film, while others think it's a massive disappointment. Thanks to this, I think it's the kind of film that will be really interesting to follow along with over the coming decades. It'll be interesting to see how audiences take to it when removed from the marketing campaign. Will it work better on people who have no expectations set? Personally, I think it just might. Now, where Longlegs pulled audiences in with codes and riddles, Weapons went for a subtler approach. The campaign was built entirely on atmosphere rather than answers. Teasers that gave us only flickers of imagery and sound, refusing to pin down what the movie was actually about. The title itself also did a lot of heavy lifting. Short, ominous, and suggestive enough to make audiences wonder what kind of weapons were at play. This decision ended up working in the film's favour. Where Longlegs left some audiences frustrated by the shift from true crime to satanic horror, Weapons avoided that trap by never promising one specific kind of story. Instead, its marketing was even more ambiguous. It simply set the expectation of dread and unease without giving away the exact source of that dread. This secrecy has paid off. Not because it concealed a twist, but because it primed audiences to be ready to be surprised. So when Aunt Gladys is revealed, no one is disappointed. In fact, the witch seeds had been planted right from the start. As Weapons' version of Longlegs, she feels far more at home within this film. She fits the comical and unexplained nature of the rest of the story, opposing how Longlegs disrupts the police procedural vibe of his own film with his satanic, kind of supernatural nature. Plus, unlike how Longlegs tries to explain everything, Weapons leaves Aunt Gladys' backstory far more open, an openness that allows us to fill the gaps with whatever horror we choose. I think it's also important to remember that Weapons is Zach Cregger's follow-up to Barbarian, a film that already set a precedent for playful, misleading marketing. Thus, audiences had a built-in expectation from his prior work alone. Barbarian famously ran a trailer featuring Justin Long, in what looked like a comedy ad, a bait-and-switch tactic that both amused and intrigued audiences. And Barbarian ultimately delivered on this tonal whiplash, blending comedy and horror within the film itself. So this comedic advertising wasn't actually false. Plus, with the false horror set up at the film's opening scene, this allowed other trailers to promote the film as horror without revealing its huge shift. Similarly, with Weapons, Cregger leaned into mystery instead of misdirection. In both cases, Cregger's films use their campaigns not just to advertise, but to mirror the way his stories themselves twist audience expectations. In the end, what both Longlegs and Weapons reveal is that horror marketing today is as much about managing expectation as it is about generating intrigue. While Longlegs enticed audiences with puzzles and cryptic teasers, it also risked overpromising a specific type of story, leaving some viewers frustrated when the narrative veered in a completely different direction. Weapons, on the other hand, embrace subtlety and ambiguity, cultivating a sense of dread without ever locking audiences into a single expectation. Together, these campaigns demonstrate that effective horror marketing isn't just about shocking imagery or viral stunts. It's about understanding how the audience will experience the film itself. Done well, it should amplify the story. Done poorly, it creates a gap between anticipation and reality that no amount of box office success can fully close. Longlegs' failure to please is a classic one. It's a similar failure to promising to be the scariest film ever made. Setting impossible or false expectations will never work. It's this sort of thing that somehow allows people to scoff at the gore in Terrifier, as it didn't make them pass out as promised, so therefore it's not that gory. While such stunts create buzz, they often lead to disappointment, because the film could never live up to that hype. In the ever-evolving landscape of genre promotion, the lesson is clear. The most memorable campaigns don't just sell a movie, they sell its world and tone. I'd love to hear your personal experiences with any of the marketing campaigns referenced, or even any that I haven't. One of my personal favourites that I haven't mentioned in this video is the trailer for the Norwegian film The Ugly Stepsister. This year's The Ugly Stepsister put out a trailer that featured similar colours and font to those that are featured in last year's The Substance, attempting to use the iconography of this successful film to promote itself. Something which is a good idea as both films are pretty similar, specifically in their use of body horror to comment on beauty standards. Although I do think that they are also quite different, and perhaps a trailer that lent more into the film's fairy tale nature would have also been useful in promoting the film to audiences that prefer this kind of horror film to a body horror one. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to my channel, check out some of my other videos and the links in the description.